بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So this is our fourth video from the Sahaba series. Now in this video inshallah we are going to go over why the Sahaba are reliable and accurate transmitters of hadith and the indicators we take into account when asserting this notion. Now we know that reports can be corrupted as a result of two main reasons. One, as a result of intentional tampering with the reports. And we solve this issue through adala, through ensuring that the transmitters are reliable or trustworthy. And we've shown that in our past videos, inshallah, where we've defined the concept of adala and where we've argued for the adala of the Sahaba or their integrity. Now another reason mistakes occur in reports is due to human error, and that goes back to the transmitter's memory, the transmitter's retention of these reports. And so inshallah today we're going to go over why the Sahaba are superior transmitters in this aspect as well. Now just looking at the context of the Sahaba and their historical context, we have several reasons to assert why they are not like any other transmitters that came later in history in this aspect. So the first aspect is that when the Sahaba were transmitting reports, they had no isnads, or no chains of transmission they had to relay up to the Prophet ﷺ. So if you can elaborate on that, that'd be great, inshallah.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, folks. So there are many factors that were available or with the Sahaba which made their retention of the reports a lot easier for them and a lot more accurate. One of the main reasons is as it relates to the nature of transmission during that early era. The nature of transmission during that early era. Now, and there's several individual reasons under this. The first of which is ulu sanad, or in reality, the lack of a chain. So as we know, a hadith is made up of a chain of transmission, a sanad or isnad, as well as a text, which is the matin, the actual content of the report. Now, as the generations go on, as time progresses, the chain of transmission naturally grows, which means you're going to have, number one, a more likelihood of people making mistakes, as well as it's going to be harder as time progresses for people to memorize, because there's more to memorize. And so when it comes to the Sahaba, we can essentially eliminate one of the main causes or major causes of transmitters making mistakes in later generations, which is mistakes in the chain, right? So the Sahaba took it directly from the Prophet, or some of them would take it from the senior companions, right? So they really have no chain they have to memorize. And you find that this is actually a really common reason. If you look in the books of Jarh wa Ta'deel, transmitters erring in transmission is one of the main causes for them to be criticized and their hadith rejected. So we can essentially eliminate this problem, which solves a lot of problems for the Sahaba as accurate transmitters who can retain and subsequently reproduce the transmission.
Okay, so this is the first one. Now there's another reason why the Sahaba are also superior transmitters in this aspect, which is the nature of these reports they're transmitting. So they're personal accounts, right? And when we know that someone who transmits a personal account is obviously going to have a different retention or recollection of this account than someone who's merely relaying something you heard from someone else, right? So if you could elaborate on that, inshallah, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, definitely. So another one of these reasons which allowed, for ease of retention is the fact that these Sahaba, they're transmitting reports, a lot of them are transmitting reports that of incidents or accounts that occurred directly between them and the Prophet. And one of the good ones is, for example, Usama ibn Zayd, and we mentioned this as a sign of Usama's honesty in our series when we argued for the trustworthiness of the Sahaba. How Usama ibn Zayd, radiallahu anh, he essentially was in the battlefield and he killed a mushrik after he had proclaimed La ilaha illallah, and this reached the Prophet. The Prophet was very angry with him. him, and then essentially he told them, "Ashaqaqta an qalbi, have you opened his heart? What will you do with La ilaha illallah on the Day of Judgment?" And then Usama bin Zayd later comments saying that I had wished I had only become Muslim at that time period due to the grave nature of this type of sin where he killed someone without any just cause. So for a report like this, there is several aspects. Number one, it happened directly to Usama. It's not something in theory he's transmitting. This is a direct account, number one. Number two, there's a lot of emotions in this account where the Prophet is angry with him and he has a very close relationship with the Prophet. There's a lot of emotions invested in this, which also adds to his retention ability here. Usama doesn't need to sit every morning, write it down and then review it, and then the Prophet was upset with me and then I told him this and then he told me that and then I replied with this. He doesn't need to do that in order to retain it. The fact that it occurred with him or occurred between the two of them is enough for him to retain it.
Indeed, and this spans most, if not all, reports of the Sahaba, which are direct eyewitness testimonies they're giving to events they actually witnessed themselves. Okay, so this is the second point. Now, the third point is that a significant portion of the ahadith the Sahaba transmit are in practical things that they did every day. And so again, there'd be no need for them to sit down and memorize these reports and make sure they don't forget them, because these these reports relate to aspects in their lives that they do on a daily basis. So if you can elaborate on that as well, inshallah, that'd be great.
So for example, salah, wudu. Wudu is something that a sahabi, he learns from the Prophet, and then he practices multiple times a day from the time he learns it from the Prophet until he dies. He doesn't need to write it down. Likewise, salah, he's practicing salah multiple times a day, at least 5 times, if not more. Because, you have all the sunnah and everything like that.
Or the adab of eating.
The adab of eating, the ad'iyah.
The bathroom.
Yeah, all these things. Adab of eating, by saying Bismillah before you eat, using your right hand. Right, I did right hand. You also have, for example, what the Prophet ﷺ used to recite in prayer. If the Prophet had a certain habit, he would often, in the Fajr of Jum'ah recite this, or another night recite that. So these are things that are constantly repeated. So, and they practice daily in their life, if not weekly or monthly in their life. So they don't need to write it down to memorize it. In the end of the day, writing something, even though we do agree writing did occur amongst the Sahaba and is a means, and we'll probably get to later in a later episode, but they don't need to write it. Writing at the end of the day is a means to retain something and not retention itself. So if they can retain something without having to write it down, like all these things we mentioned, then there's not a point in writing.
And this goes back to the point we just talked about before we started filming, which is that writing or the transcription of reports became really popular later in history when it became necessary, when the chains of transmission start to get longer, and it became harder for transmitters to recollect these accounts when there's like 7, 5, 6 transmitters between them and the incident. And so, as we said, we bypass this problem with the Sahaba because they're directly transmitting these accounts. So in conclusion, the Sahaba are certainly not like the later transmitters, and thus they shouldn't be judged accordingly. They have a certain specific context that we must take into account when analyzing them as transmitters, and these are a few indicators we take into account when analyzing the Sahaba as transmitters and in showing why they are superior, reliable transmitters in hadith. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Inshallah, we're going to make more videos in the future, so stay tuned, subscribe, like, and share. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.